police chief, through the administration say, you know, when we were talking about cutting the 2 police officers, he'd rather cut the overtime than cut the people. So, you know, this was, again, one of the first rounds of cuts that were made, and I think, you know, $13,000 out of $500,000, actually out of over $1 million worth of overtime budgets, I think we can readily afford to do without, and not put it in an override. And I think if you're going to be talking about restoring things, I think restoring overtime is a hard sell. What was that?
So, that changes the total. The only thing that came off of there was the collector's salary. So, $451,922.
Correct. 1,153,936.
You got the total of everything? What was the number, Michael? Trust me.
1,163,936.
1,000,000.
163,936.
Yeah, 936. Okay, now I'm just going to put that other slide back. Oops, sorry. So basically, what would come is the override question based on votes that we've made this evening will be a total of $1,163,936. Okay, that's all voted at this point.
The only thing that remains is the format of the question and any potential reductions that we have against that in the coming weeks.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, right? Where, first of all, tonight we will sign the warrant. We do not have to make we don't have to vote on the override question tonight.
Correct.
So the number that we're at is the number that I just read, which was the 1,163,936. Now, what can change? Currently, one of the biggest potentials at this point is the health insurance rate increase. It's currently budgeted at 12%. And as you recall, any 1% change up or down is a $47,000 issue or improvement. So, we did not receive the insurance rates today as promised.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't get it today, we were told what's the new date? They tell us the new date they're gonna respond by?
Well, I think because of the fact that this is a number that we're going to depend upon to try to balance our budget, I think they're probably putting a little more diligence into it than they normally would and calling up and just saying, this is what we think it is. And I've also asked them to put it in writing, and I think that's probably the reason why we didn't get it today, because they need to commit to a firm rate proposal and ask for it in writing.
So, I'm going to ask the board this, and I want to get an idea of, I'd like to know what the board, if it's a positive number, meaning that the 12% is something less than 12%, which generates frees up additional revenues, right? Is it the desire of the board to put that into the school budget?
Mr. Chairman. Yes. I think we should get as close as we can to restoring Wednesdays. Get the kids back in school 5 days a week.
Joe?
My answer would be after we restored everything you gentlemen have cut out tonight, yes, I would give them the excess.
Can you explain that a little more then to me?
Well, after we put the cruiser back into the override,
So in other words, everything.
Everything that you gentlemen
Everything that we
taken
took
out
out of the
goes back in, and
override
then they could
question.
have the
Okay,
excess.
all right, I understand your position.
So,
Phil?
This is restore general government first.
I mean,
Yes.
you know, the thing is that I think that when you get money back, okay, you need to spend it against a specific set of goals, right? Something, it achieves something, make it achieve something. To me, okay, I think putting people out, firing people, or not filling positions, right, is very bad. So, to me, I would want to reinstate the positions that we have, where we've not filled. In fact, the 25,000 and the 33,000 first, 2 positions. Then everything else would go, I'd say, go to school, because then we fill the
So you would
positions.
fill
I'd fill the empty positions first.
the empty positions
Yeah,
first.
sure, because I think that people being fired or not hired
Well, I
is
think
very
there's a
bad
big
on morale,
difference.
it's a very bad on what needs to be done.
I
And
think
agree
there's a
with
big
Joe. I heard the
difference.
same story with Joe, that the collector, we've got cash in a box, it's not being deposited, we're short people, and collectors are. So,
I guess, I believe that there's a big difference between firing somebody and not hiring,
I do too.
filling the position.
I agree,
Okay.
I agree.
All right, so we know Joe's position, we know yours. Michael?
I find what Phil said to be reasonable. What? Some odd $1,000? I would be in favor of that, restoring 2 positions and then paying the rest over.
So that would be a motion, I don't know, would be in the form of a main motion or a motion to amend, to put the
At
additional.
town meeting
At
floor,
town
yeah,
meeting,
right.
floor, to restore these 2 positions rather than sliding it over the school department side.
So you restore those 2 positions, and then the balance of the money, if I understand what Phil and Mike are in support of, would go to the school budget.
I'm not in support of that. I think it should go to the schools.
Yeah, I
And again,
understand.
they've taken an inordinate hit. We were all talking about the present day and what's going to happen July 1st. We're already talking about a restoration budget on the school department side, and we have nothing to restore yet. We haven't cut anything yet. This is all philosophical. We're talking about a restoration budget on the school department side, and we're not even close to restoring what they cut over the last 2 years. And what they've already been proven they needed. To me, they made a compelling argument, and again, don't get me wrong, and Joe, you know, I'd like to support town hall
No, no,
employees
it's
and general
fine,
government,
Steve, go ahead.
the whole 9
I hear
yards,
your
but you know what?
opinion.
When it comes to prioritizing things, our kids should be in school 5 days a week, and they should have an adequate education, and they're being denied that right now. They've made the cuts, we've seen the effects of it, we've seen the scores dropping. To me, that's where our money has to be prioritized. And we're talking about restoration now, we're not talking about restoration of something that we think we might have to do and what might not be able to operate without. So, we already know what the effects have been on the school department side.
And basically,
I don't-
my
I don't know how to say-
position,
I
position would
agree.
be,
I agree
may I
totally.
state my
Yep, sure.
position before?
Sure.
My position would be to put 100% of that money into the school budget, any surplus, divided by a percentage, which would have to go into the town budget to cover the number of employees that amount
For
is
benefits.
restored, right? I mean, that has to be. So in other words, if there was enough money in there to restore 2 people, right, there has to also be enough to fund the benefits, which would go into the town side. But effectively, 100% of any surplus, any additional savings in insurance would go toward funding the school. But it's 2 to 2, 2 to 2 to 1.
The one.
Well,
Well,
Joe isn't in
I
support of
think-
any of it
I
going
think we
in.
look at it if it's a reality. When we see the number, then we talk about it again. There's nothing to vote for now, there's no money.
I'm just trying to get
No
some
money. We want a
idea.
sense. But,
Hold on.
the only part I have a problem with, you know, there's no one is as favor of education more than me. But the part that I object to is the part where you say that the town side's done nothing. The town side's raised $1.3 million to to allocate towards the schools. And there are real adjustments here. They're not, I mean, I don't know, because you see it, you wanna portray it as not real adjustments. There are real adjustments here. There are real things going on here. You talk about firing people, well, says 70% of the employees in the town of North Reading are school people, are school employees. Where are you gonna cut from? Who are you gonna fire? You've considered firing people, and we've knocked positions out, okay? We've knocked positions out. Knocking out 3 positions out of the town side, which we have done, okay, is like knocking out 9 positions out of the school side. So I mean, they're real cuts. I just don't think you ought to portray them. Who does it serve by portraying the town as not having dug deep enough? The town has raised $1.3 million bucks. I just disagree with you, that's all.
That's fine. I guess the difference,
I mean, portraying the people not hurting enough, everybody's hurting. I can't stand that, the idea that people aren't hurting. Everyone's hurting, everyone.
I didn't say that they weren't hurting.
Well, then,
The thing is,
it is what you said.
No, it's a question of looking at the community as a whole, and again, we're still in this us versus them mentality, and to me.
Not
if
me.
we- Well, again, we have a difference of opinion as to what positions should be filled first and second and third.
Okay, so
That's
we
the
get a
way I
difference.
look at it, but I mean, you're again portraying it, general government, to me, am I talking about not filling 2 positions in town hall and forcing another position to be funded through a revolving fund? That's not cutting the position, all right? Two positions that we're not going to fill. I'm not talking about people that we know, love, and have worked here for 27 years. And it's not that we don't have a need for the positions. It's a question of prioritizing the funds that are available and where are we gonna put them first. And I'm talking about restoring cuts that have already taken place.
Right.
So, as far as what we've done, the $1.3 million, it's all a shell game, it's all the same pie. It's all the same money, and it all comes from the same sources.
There-
Just a
there-
question of how we're gonna divvy it up and where the priorities
There are
are.
legitimate
We can
adjustments there.
have an honest difference of opinion as far as prioritization of funds, and I'd like to look upon it as that way. To me, at this particular point, I'd like to restore what they've already lost, and I've seen the adverse effects of, rather than filling positions that are currently vacant.
And if we can restore a piece, that's what I said up front. If you can restore something, that's fine. I can, in other words, you look at what you have, and you look at what the options are, okay? And then you decide where the money should go. That's why I think you can't really make this decision till you see how much it is, okay? So, I know the $25,000 collector's item is causing a problem. I heard the same story Joe heard. It's causing a problem, okay? So I know that needs to be restored. Now, if it isn't enough to make a difference to the school side, if it makes a difference, okay? If it makes a difference, like we did with the 3, like we did with the priority 1. We reached priority 1, then we realized we needed another $85,000. We came up with $85,000 because it made sense to do. But if you don't have a context of how much money it is and what it ends up doing, you're making a poor decision. That's my only point, okay? You need to make a decision in context of what the money can do, and then you make this
The
decision
chairman
about
asked
what's
a very
best.
simple question. If additional revenues are found in relation to this particular line item in the budget, where would it go first?
And I think you
And
need to
that's-
see what the additional money is first.
I don't care if it's 10 cents or $10,000 or $100,000.
And that's probably where we did.
All right, Michael wants to.
Would it be possible to split the money up as a ratio of how many employees are in each department?
It's
Could we give
possible to do.
schools 70%
We can-
and give the town 30%?
We can do whatever we as a majority can agree
Like a
to.
suggestion, town meeting will determine what's gonna be done.
Because that would be my suggestion.
I mean, I think that,
Things
Phil is right about one thing, is that it's not a decision that we have to make tonight. I wanted to know where the board was on this issue. Certainly until the money is in hand, right? The worst that could happen is
Might go up 1%.
if it goes up 1% or 2, then we're gonna be back here dealing with a
Fighting for
different
half an
kind of
hour
a
for nothing.
problem, right?
Right.
But, I understand where Phil is coming from, and, I still believe that we owe it to our school children to provide them with the funds necessary to fulfill and make a better school day
So,
for every,
so do I.
and,
So do I.
maybe we'll be lucky and we get some good news and we'll have enough money, if compromise is,
priority
if
two.